We all know the Game Awards are rigged and shouldn't be taken seriously by anyone, but there are lots of really interesting anomalies that really need to be discussed going into the show proper. And one of the things that really stuck out to me as someone who hates the Game Awards, hates Geoff Keighley, hates everything they do, uh, you know, Sudoku, when you look at the nominees, there's one very notable exception. There's one game that Geoff Keighley was heavily involved with, promoting, with shilling, with justifying Palworld. Palworld has not been nominated for a single game award. Aww. It's almost like Geoff knows what's coming. It's almost like Geoff knows that Pocket Pair is going to get fucked, and so nominating a plagiarized piece of shit over actual original media may actually come back to bite him. This is one of those situations in which people don't want to address the elephant in the room because, it goes against the very carefully constructed narrative, but Palworld is completely fucked. Pokemon Trading Card Pocket probably generated more income in a day than Pocket Pair has in its entire existence. But when you look and see at what Geoff Keighley did, right? It was Geoff Keighley who verified the sales numbers for Pocket Pair, right? He was the one who tried to tell us that like the 15 million units sold or whatever was real, and that they generated like $100,000 or something, and that led to like the cope that's persisted for the past year that like, well, they have too much money now for Nintendo to sue them, which is not how that works at all. But but anyway, like we must not let Geoff Keighley slide. Like I would honestly suggest that like Geoff Keighley needs to be held accountable for this because it can't be more obvious that Palworld completely flopped right out of the gate, right? This was never going to be a competitor to Pokemon. It was never relevant. It was never successful. But yet people like Geoff Keighley propped it up like it was, It's just like with Hi-Fi Rush last year, right? Where we were told that like this is the greatest new IP ever made. Microsoft is super excited about it. Like, oh, Tango Gameworks is expanding. Oh, like all these people. And like, I was sitting here telling you that like, no, the game failed. Tango Gameworks has done nothing but fail. They will never be a successful company. And then what happened, right? What happened after that? Shinji Mikami left, and everybody did damage control, like pretending that didn't mean anything or that wasn't a big deal. And then what happens? The entire studio gets shut down, right? Absolutely no recovery, no hope of making any kind of comeback. Like Hi-Fi Rush is not only a dead IP, the team that made it has been completely disbanded. And over the past like several months, you've had people coping and seething about like, well, some Korean company has acquired the IP and they're gonna get as many people as they can. Everyone else has found different jobs. It's not going to be made by the same people. It's a train wreck. Absolutely a train wreck. But nobody really talks about it because the game has served its purpose. It's a bright, colorful, vibrant thing that can exist for the game journals to trot out and say like, oh, look how much better this is than what Nintendo is putting out. And then it just becomes completely forgotten once the Game Award season is over. Right, Ashtabot is going to go through a similar character arc. Baldur's Gate 3 went through something similar. Elden Ring has immediately faded from the public consciousness after Shadow of the Shit Stain on the Third Tree dropped, right? Like, who do you know who remembers Elden Ring even exists, right? Again, like this is the typical pattern is that the Game Awards just shoves all this shit at you, trying to get you hyped up, trying to get you excited, while like just completely epically failing at everything they set out to do. And one of their big things that really needs to be talked about is the No Man's Sky thing. If you really think about it, the Video Game Awards has been shilling No Man's Sky for its entire inception. Right? No Man's Sky was unveiled at the VGX. and people did this thing where they were just like, Sony, open universe, like Sean Murray is a god, like they did this for years before the actual release, and then the game came out, it was trash, whatever, but then they pivoted around and did this thing where they pretended that the game secretly became good after all the patches, which is not true, by the way. I have played the game post-patch. It is not very good at all. And to this day, they are still nominating No Man's Sky for awards, ignoring much more popular games, ignoring much more successful games, ignoring, projects like, Pokemon Trading Card Pocket, right? Which I think it's safe to say is going to be this huge, huge deal on mobile, going to really like repopularize the Pokemon TCG. It's a huge deal, right? And yet the Game Awards conveniently is not there to talk about it. Just like Pokemon Legends Arceus, just like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, just like Tears of the Kingdom, just like everything else Nintendo has done this year. Now, let's just shove all these games in the best family game category and ignore that Nintendo is still dominating the industry. Like, let's just ignore reality and pretend that an Elden Ring DLC can win Game of the Year. It's just appallingly awful, right? It's awful. And it's really cool to see because I do think people are starting to realize just how corrupt the Game Awards actually are. People were willing to go along with like the corruption if it meant undermining Nintendo, right? They were celebrating Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Wonder not winning anything last year. But like with no Nintendo games in the running, with no real games to like compete against all the slop, right? Like you're gonna see more and more people like start like fighting among themselves, like who is king of the shit heap, right? Like who is the real game of the year? Like unlike the last couple, like we really have no idea. Like it could be Black Myth Wukong, it could be Shit Stain on the Turd Tree, it could be like Astro Butt, it could be anything, right? So when you really like look at it, the Game Awards is in this position where they're gonna prop up whatever game like suits their interest the best, right? It has nothing to do with like how much value they provide or how much people like them, how much they sold, because Baldur's Gate 3 didn't sell all that well at all. But like what matters is like what they can use to push their weird social agenda onto gaming. And as a result of that, like, why exactly is anyone taking these award shows seriously at all? Like, why is anyone paying attention to them? Like, again, I've been saying this over and over again for years, but the Game Awards need to be discredited. Considering how much Palworld was hyped up by the public, considering how much Geoff Keighley shilled this game and did everything he possibly could to confuse people on whether or not it was bigger than Pokemon. It was not. In spite of all the effort that the game journal industry went into propping this thing up, it hasn't been nominated for anything for the Game Awards this year. And that is very telling about where Geoff's loyalties lie. Not to the gaming public, but for his own interests.